Hello, my name is Chris Keyack with Keyack Technology Solutions. In this video today, we're going to showcase a new feature that's been added to MBS SlideRule, which basically allows you to switch the side of the web that the welds are placed between webs and flanges on 3-plate tapered members. And this request has come in from manufacturers based on how they actually fabricate the webs and weld the webs and the flanges together in the shop. Here you can see, for instance, an image of the seam welder for the webs. And this is actually showing the outside flange or the flat face of the flange or web towards the operator side. And this is actually showing the web after it's already gone through the seam welder and the operators on the right. Now, what you'll see here is that on the next phase after the seam welder, we're putting the webs and the flanges together. And you can actually see the shop drawing here on the left, and the shop drawing shows the outside flange, which is flat, on the top of the drawing. But the operator, as they are actually kind of welding the webs and the flanges together and putting them together to put them through the pull-through welder on the CONRAC machine, they're actually looking at the piece opposite to the shop drawing. So it's almost like as if it's upside down or looking from the back side of the web compared to the shop drawing. Now, here on the next image, this is actually showing right before the basically the 3-plate assembly is going into the pull-through welder or the CONRAC machine. And the operator is actually on the far side of the machine, and he's on the left side of this picture, which means that the flat outside flange is towards the operator side. And so that means that the welds between the web and the flanges is actually on the far side of the web compared to what's shown on the shop drawing. And that is different by default than what MBS and SlideRule does when it creates the 3-plate assemblies in Tekla structures, and it usually by default puts the welds on the near side. Now, why does this matter? Well, the reason why this matters is because if you're a shop that has an AGT BeamMaster or a robotic welding machine, and you're going to do welding on that AGT machine for your clips and your end plates to your 3-plate assembly, then the other thing that people often do is these leading and trailing end welds between the web and the flanges. They'll do those on the AGT machine as well. Well, why do these welds exist? These welds, like you see on the lower left image here, they happen, or these gaps happen at the end of the assembly because the operator doesn't actually start the weld until about 6 to 8 inches or so from the end of the member. They start 8 inches in, and then they'll actually end or pull the welder off before it gets to the end of the assembly when it comes through the CONRAC machine. So this leaves basically weld space that has to be done either by a manual welder by hand, or it's going to be done by the AGT machine. Now, the issue here is that if the welds in the model, the leading edge welds that MBS and SlideRule has added, earlier this year, or earlier last year, if basically those welds are on the wrong side, like on the near side, but they're actually doing the CONRAC welds on the far side of the web, but the model welds are on the near side, then the AGT machine is going to be putting the welds on the wrong side. So the whole idea behind this new feature is that it switches all of the web to flange welds, including the leading edge welds, and it puts them on the far side, which matches what they're actually going to do out in the shop when they fabricate this. Okay, so now if I come over here into Tekla structures, I've actually imported the model using the default method, which puts the welds on the near side. So that way you can understand and see what's happening here when you change this switch. If I look at this rafter, the first web on the rafter is going to be the main part of the assembly. And you can see the yellow point is here on the left and the magenta point is on the right, which means that the shop drawing is going to be drawn in exactly this orientation. We're going to see the first web here on the left towards the yellow point, and then the rafter will be drawn going towards the right from basically the knee to the peak of the building. Now, if I zoom in here, you're going to see that all of the welds here, these cyan objects, are on the near side of that web, which means that if I make the shop drawing, that's where the welds are going to be, and the outside flange or the flat flange would be towards the top of the shop drawing. But we want that to be reversed. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you the setting that reverses that. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we're going to go to our C drive, then we're going to go to the MBS folder, we'll scroll down to util, and then we will scroll down to the bottom of that and open up and edit the SlideRule.ini file. When I do that, you're going to see here that under the debug section, I've added this new flip web welds option. Now it's under debug right now, but it'll probably be moved over to weld options. I'm just currently in testing phase, so that's why it's showing this here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this to true, and then I will go ahead and save. Now, I don't need to rerun the job in MBS or anything like that. I should be able to just go ahead and close this down, bring up MBS, and then come up here and run SlideRule. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back and take a look at the results. Okay, so here we are. Now I'm oriented in the model exactly like I was before, just so that way you can see that it did switch to the far side. Here, if I click on my first web, yellow point is there, magenta point is towards the top, and then if I go ahead and zoom in, you'll see that the welds are not here on the near side. They're actually on the far side. And here's actually the leading edge welds that I was talking about, and they're on the far side. So let's go ahead and rotate around. So now we're looking at the back side of the assembly, and we're going to see that the welds are here on the far side. This is the leading edge weld that the AGT robotic machine is going to do. So we can see those are there at the ends of the assembly. And then we have the main weld that's going to be done by the CONRAC machine here on the far side. Okay, so now I've rotated back to the near side of the rafter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the web here, and I'm going to go up to Drawings and Reports, Master Drawing Catalog, and I'm going to create an assembly drawing. I'll just select the MBS Assembly Drawings rule here, and I'll press the Create Drawings option. That'll create my assembly drawing. Now, once that's done, I'll just go up to the Document Manager here, and we'll open up that assembly drawing and see how it's drawn and orientated. If I just double-click on this 3-plate assembly drawing here, that'll open up, and you'll see that the outside flange is drawn towards the top and the taper or inside flange is on the bottom. And so basically what we're looking at is the near side of the web. And on the left, that is basically the end plate that is closest to the column or the knee on the building. And over here on the right, that is going to be at the peak. Now, if you wanted to actually make a shop drawing that is reversed and actually oriented to showing the far side and having the outside flange on the bottom, let me show you what you can do. If you double click on the background, that'll open up the drawing properties. There's a view creation option here, and you can control which views are created on this shop drawing. Now, there is a couple different ways that we can kind of manipulate the orientation on the drawing. First of all, we can come in here to this front view, and we can change this from front and actually look from the back. When we do this and press modify, this is basically like flipping this thing upside down or looking at it from the back, and then you're going to see that the outside flange is now lying flat at the bottom here, and then you still see the column or the end plate on the left, or the end plate that's going to the column, that's on the left or at the knee, and then the peak is over on the right. But basically, we've just reorientated to where we're looking from the back face here or the far side web. So that basically is how you could create a shop drawing that orientates this for the shop. And you could actually make multiple assembly drawings. If you wanted one for fit up of the actual end plates and the clips that shows everything, basically you could have that defaulted to near side where the outside flange is on the top. And then you can make a web drawing or basically just an adjusted drawing like this here, specifically for the shop when they're doing the webs and the web to flange welds. So it's kind of up to you. I just wanted you to see that you can switch this to back view, and that's how you can get this to reorientate. Now, the other way that you can control the orientation of the shop drawing is basically rotating the actual views on the drawing around the x-axis, y-axis, or z-axis. X-axis would basically be flipping it around along the length. Y would be basically like taking the left and right and kind of mirroring it about the center line of the assembly. So switching this side over to the right and the basically peak side over to the left. And that's not what I wanted here. So that's why I just turned on the back view option. Now let me just undo that. So there's the default shop drawing. And let me show you what I mean by like making two separate drawings here. I'm just going to go ahead and close this out. We'll go back to the Document Manager. Now, when that opens, there's a web drawing that's actually created by the Master Drawing Catalog here. And you'll see that it's RF1-2, but there's a -1 drawing. And then there's a -2 assembly drawing, which just means that there's multiple drawings for the same assembly. And the assembly weld drawing is for like the AGT to show the actual welds on there. But let's actually go to the web drawing. So when I open this up, since it's really the web assemblies phase where this issue kind of comes up, if we wanted to reverse this and show how this is actually feeding through the seam welder and the webs need to be put together from the operator side, this is probably where you can come in here and you could double click on the background and change this from front view to back view. So I'll just go ahead and change that. And then I'll say modify. And then if we like that style where now the outside flange is flat towards the operator side, then we could just come up here and save and then put that in our firm folder. And so that way the web drawing is drawn this way, but the main assembly drawing is drawn with the outside flange to the top and shown from the near side web. So there you go. That shows you full circle how this all works together. So that way, if you do need these welds to be on the far side, specifically for your BeamMaster and your AGT welding machine, and if you need to change how your shop drawing orientation is to make it clearer for the shop when they're doing the web assembly and the flange assembly together, then you can make these additional assembly drawings. For additional training and setup and configuration of MBS SlideRule with Tekla structures, please reach out to me at my contact information shown, and I'd be glad to help.